Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Welcome to Straight Up with Kevin Carter, a retired veteran and decorated police officer with over 17 years' experience, tackling current events, local, state, and federal, covering today's topics and events with special guests. And now, here's your host, Kevin Carter.
All right. Let's get going here today. No special guest today. You just get stuck dealing with me. I wanted to talk about something that's pretty near and dear to me as a gun owner, Texan, American. Spent half my life serving my country, my community. During that time, carrying a weapon. United States Army, police force, so on and so forth. January 19th, the New York Post reports a Philadelphia man shot and killed who was trying to steal his car from outside his home. According to the reports, the licensed gun owner shot at least once early Tuesday after seeing three men trying to tow away his car, possibly just to rip out the catalytic converters. Was what the police told the Philadelphia Inquirer. The trio fled in a gray Honda, crashed into a school bus. Two of the thieves then fled, but the third one was pronounced dead at the scene after being, was pronounced dead after being taken to a local hospital. The shooting victim, I'm not going to say their name on here, nor am I going to say the gunman's name, but one of the lifelong friends of the victim who got shot was quoted in the article as saying, he did not have to come out and shoot him, meaning the owner of the home and the car did not have to come out and shoot. It was just a car. All he had to do was call the police, says the friend of the deceased subject. You don't have to shoot someone out in the street over a car. Well, newsflash, let me tell you something, okay? People's possessions, they work very hard for them. Some of these possessions they can't replace. They don't have the means. It took them some time. And to get these possessions, worked a lot of hours, whatever the case may be. With all that said, it's theirs. It's not yours. I know there's a lot of people in this world that didn't have parents that taught them right from wrong. And let me just say this, folks. If you know somebody that is not doing right and is out doing wrong, you need to say something to them. You might be saving their life. They might be this person next. I am a Second Amendment advocate, big time. I'm a gun owner, have been for years, fascinated by them, love them. I have never shot anybody in my life, thank God. Don't want to. Don't wake up every day thinking about that. Hope and pray that decision never is forced upon me. I have been in situations in law enforcement where we have had to draw weapons upon people to gain compliance. But that's not, thank God, never had to pull the trigger. I'm sure this gentleman that was protecting his car didn't wake up that morning saying, oh my gosh, I hope I get to shoot somebody today. I don't know of any gun owner that ever has that thought cross their mind. As a matter of fact, it's just quite the opposite. That's something they never want to do. And with that said, though, the weapon is a choice. Pennsylvania is a castle doctrine state. Stand your ground. There's no duty to retreat, much like Texas. We have the right to use deadly force here in Texas, even in the basically to as it states in the Penal Code 941. You are protected under the law to use deadly force to prevent the commission of an arson, burglary, robbery, aggravated robbery, theft during the nighttime, or criminal mischief during the nighttime. So it even goes very specific to mention basically after dark, you're protected to use deadly force if you so see the need to. Now, these families that come out here and say nobody had to shoot this guy, well, you're right. He didn't have to shoot this guy. He didn't want to shoot this guy, I'm sure, but that's his car, and that is his constitutional right to defend his property. When you go on somebody else's property and you attempt to take it against their will, you're going to suffer the consequences if that person is armed and is willing to come out and defend their property in a manner that this gentleman did. I can tell you personally, I wouldn't have a problem doing the same thing if I was forced into that. And that's the key that I want to take away from this today. These people are forced into these scenarios. This person is so quick to stand up in front of the news and say he didn't have to shoot him over a car. Okay, let's flip this around. Your buddy didn't have to go try to steal a car that didn't belong to him. So quit trying to put the blame on somebody that was defending their property and doing what was right. This person was eating their breakfast, maybe watching the news, getting ready to go to work, and looks out and sees three hoodlums trying to steal a car. And as it says in the article, they found tools in here that would lead them to believe that these people were stealing these cars for the purpose of taking the catalytic converters off of them, which has become a big problem. Catalytic converters have some precious metals in them that are worth quite a bit of money. And so there's a big market for those. And even the getaway car, after it crashed into the bus, the police was able to locate a weapon in the getaway car. So let's just expand on this for a moment. The three suspects were up to no good. They demonstrated that by going on this man's property. They went to this man's property with a weapon in their car. Why would they do that? They went to that property with the tools in that car to remove catalytic converters. Okay. So you can safely say that they didn't take those tools just because they wanted to, or in case they might need them. They took those tools to say, this is what we're going to do. So the other tool they took was also a weapon. Let's just say that's the same thing. They didn't take that weapon for the safety of themselves. They took that weapon to use it in the commission of a crime if needed. So only because the homeowner was faster than the victim here, the thief, not even going to call him a victim, because the only thing they're a victim of is that they weren't as prepared as the person who came out and caught them. I don't know how else to explain something as simple as, if it does not belong to you, leave it alone. If you have a child, an adult, a husband, a brother, a spouse, whomever, a buddy that you know is doing stupid stuff like this, and you want to save their life, you need to tell them to stop. It's really simple. Don't get on national TV, or in this case, in front of a newspaper, and say, they didn't have to shoot him. Well, he didn't have to do what he was doing either. So we could argue this point all day long. But in the eyes of the law, the homeowner had a right to protect his property. And this person that goes into someone else's private area and tries to take something that doesn't belong to them pays the ultimate price. This happens every day somewhere in America. And I've heard in police work on numerous occasions when police use deadly force against somebody for whatever reason, you always have that one person that's going to come out and say, well, you didn't have to shoot him in the chest. You could have shot him in the leg. Well, let me tell you from somebody that has been on more firing ranges than I can even count, that's not how they train you, okay? The military trains you to shoot center mass. Center mass means the center chest area of any torso. That every silhouette that you see at the range is the resemblance of an average sized torso, uh, 5'8" to 5'10", somewhere in there. So that's your average size human being. So that's where they want you to shoot center mass. Why is that? It's the largest area to hit. They don't teach you to shoot somebody in the head for the simple fact that the head's smaller than the center torso. They don't teach you to shoot somebody in the arm or the leg for the simple fact that it's a smaller target. And in law enforcement and in military, and even as a civilian, when you squeeze that trigger, you are responsible for where that bullet goes and where that bullet stops. I know people find that hard to believe, but as a police officer, if you're in a crowded area and you're justified to shoot somebody, you have to take into consideration what's behind that person. Because I can assure you, most officers today that are carrying rounds in their duty gear and in their duty weapon are most likely hollow point style bullets, meaning they're going to fragment upon contact. They're going to do maximum amount of damage because at the end of the day, an officer's job when they use deadly force is to stop the threat. That's what they're trying to do. Stop the threat with the least amount of force as humanly possible. But you got to consider, where is that bullet going to go? Where's it going to stop? Is it going to go through? If you're in Walmart, there's 50 people behind this person, you're not going to shoot that person unless you just absolutely have to. Your AR rounds that you have in these automatic rifles that law enforcement carries. We've all seen the hostage, situations. Of course, TV dramatizes everything. Officers don't shoot these people while they have them, with their arm around their neck and a gun to their head. There's a reason for that. The target is not big enough. It endangers the hostage, things of that nature. So and a civilian is no different. Had this man came out and shot the suspects for stealing his car, and that bullet went across the street and it killed an innocent bystander, this would be a total different conversation. You would be looking at, negligent homicide, reckless manslaughter, things of that nature. There's all kinds of things they could be charged with. But at the end of the day, the main point here is this is a situation where somebody walks into somebody else's driveway, and is in the process of taking something that doesn't belong to them. I don't care where you line up on guns. You may hate them, you may love them. I can pretty safely say with great certainty that nobody likes a thief. Nobody. So what do? Do you just sit back and let it happen? Is that what our society has come to? We're just going to sit back and allow the criminals to overrun us? The criminals came to this guy's house armed with a gun. Do you think for 1 minute, had that guy came outside without a gun, the criminals would have used their gun to intimidate him to make him go back inside and leave him alone? I'm going to probably safely say, yes, that's accurate. They probably would not have hesitated, probably would have killed him. I've seen robberies of unarmed civilians killed for a whole lot less than a vehicle. So why is it okay in our society for the criminals to carry these guns, but it's not okay for the civilians to protect their property with these guns? I would be very interested to hear anybody's take on that, anybody's rebuttal on that to me that could help me understand it from a different perspective. I just I don't get the whole mindset of people's angst or hang-ups or whatever with guns. Uh, Guns are what made this country what it is today. Um, it's a proven fact. I mean, we've had a Revolutionary War, we've had a Civil War, we've had multiple wars all around the world, and every one of them involved a gun and liberating somebody somewhere, even this own country. But now all of a sudden you have a problem with that. It doesn't make sense to me. It's okay as long as it fits your narrative. That doesn't sit well with me. It's either okay or it's not okay. You can't have it both ways. I like I said, I've carried a gun for over half of my life. I started out carrying a gun uh, as a young child with my dad in the woods. It was empty, but that was his way of teaching us gun safety. You had to carry it empty. And I've been thumped upside the head for not keeping the muzzle pointed to the ground, walking through the woods. Now, I know everybody doesn't get this type of education in life. And I know that there are people out there. I experienced this when I was in the Army. I got into basic training and it come time to shoot. And I got in there and I was amazed at the number of people that had never shot a gun in their life. Totally amazed. I grew up in that world. So to me, that was second nature, shooting a gun. I thought everybody had shot a gun. I did not realize that half the population hadn't. And so it was very eye opening to me. And it showed on the range, of course, shooting expert in the military, and then have qualified in police work. We were required to qualify once a year by state standards, but we generally qualified as many as 3 and 4 times a year. The statistics that you will look at, though, that will scare the heck out of you is the average officer qualifies 1 to 2 times a year. Your average criminal shoots 2 to 3 times a month. That's very scary. And although just because they're shooting doesn't make them better, they are still shooting way more than the officers are on a daily basis. But your average citizen that is armed has a right, per the Constitution, the Second Amendment, to protect themselves. I know every state has weighed in. They have their own rules and regulations that they put in. In this particular state, um, Pennsylvania, like I said, it's the castle doctrine. You can stand your ground. Force is justifiable when the actor believes that such force is immediately necessary to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry or trespass upon land, or the unlawful carrying away of tangible, movable property. Example, a car. So the owner was completely within his legal right by written definition of the law in Pennsylvania to do what he did. So I ask you, and you can hit me up on email. I would welcome the response. Straight up, kevincarter@gmail.com. Uh, let me hear your views on this. What are you thinking? Are you anti-gun? You pro-gun? I'm not going to beat you up. I promise you. I respect everybody's opinion. We all don't think the same. If we did, it'd be a boring world. I've said that many, many times. Uh, my Second Amendment right shall not be infringed upon by anybody. Just like your freedom of speech, it won't be infringed upon by anybody. That's why they're our rights. So, with that, this is going to be one of my shorter podcasts, but I just wanted to put this out there and say, let me know your thoughts and where you stand. And what would you do if you walk out and see somebody stealing your car and you live in a state that gives you the right to use deadly force? Would you do it? Me personally, absolutely. Do I want to do it? No, don't put me in that situation. And this is the thing I think is the key to the whole story. This man didn't choose to shoot this person. He was forced into it. That's my perspective on that. He was forced into it. He didn't ask for that to happen that day. That person that was stealing his car forced him into that. That person made that decision to be there illegally, forcing that homeowner to do what he did to protect his property. Straight up Kevin Carter at gmail.com. I would love to hear your comments. Hit me up on email. And thank you very much for your time. Stay tuned. We got more podcasts coming your way.
We don't want to scare anybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Straight Up with Kevin Carter. For questions or comments, contact us at straightupkevincarter@gmail.com. Until next time.